All right, today's day 311. We're going to be looking at 35208. It's going to be right over here to the right of west of Birmingham. So today we got 1625 Martin Ave in 35208, 4 bed, 2.5 bath, 1861. Now, pick this property because it's relatively turnkey. Yeah, is there some wallpaper? Sure. Could some things be refinished? Sure. But for the most part, it's pretty much rent ready. Let's see. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Let's see. Sales and tax history. They've been trying to rent it out for $17.75, and I'm assuming they haven't been able to. That's why they're trying to rent it out. But it looks like they bought it for 55 grand. So they must own it free and clear right now, unless they have a hard money law. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to first figure out how much can we get for rent, and this is in Jefferson County. So we're going to Google HUD FMR, right? HUD FMR, and let me just turn off my messages. When you Google HUD FMR to fair market rent, you can come down here, click on small area FMRs. From that point onwards, you can click up look what FY 2024, fiscal year 2024 in Jefferson County. And now I want to get by bedroom count, by zip code, what the maximum rent is. And this is 35208. So your rent ceiling is going to be right here at 1600, right? 1600 for a 4-bed and 1440 for a 3-bed. Let's put that one down. 1440 and 1600. Now 1600 is pretty high, right? That's usually on the higher end. I think I've seen as high as 1700, but definitely nothing really that much higher. All right, so now that I got my rent ceiling in there, I need to figure out what my market rents are. To figure out what my market rents are, I can go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to the owner section, go to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in bedroom count, and after you click get estimate, the number that matters to you most is going to be right here. It says that for the average rent for 4 bedrooms in a 1.7 mile radius for 25 units, the average rent is $13.38, 1338. Now that's important, right? Because that's a lot lower than 1600, right? The other rent ceiling was 1600, which means that number typically includes some utilities, so you can't use that number. But there's a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. I'm gonna pull this up right here. Now, right now, what I have up is I have the Housing Choice Voucher Program guidebook. This guidebook for the Housing Choice Voucher was previously known as the Section 8 program, right? But they rebranded it to Housing Choice Voucher to get away from all the bad connotations associated with Section 8. Now, when you have this section there, so in Section 2.2, it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. So this means that, sure, single family homes, you got to compare them against other single family homes. The unit type still matters, right? The size still matters. But when we saw that the market rent for 4 bedrooms was at $13.38, it's very likely that all those 4-bedroom units were all single family homes. Why do you check the FMR if we still need to do the rent reasonableness test? Why not go straight to the calculator? Great question. So in some areas, there are very specific areas where the FMR is actually higher than your market rent. So in certain places such as, I believe, Spring, Texas, and some other areas such as Cleveland, there are areas where they actually pay above the market rent. But these are the exceptions and not the rule. And I check the FMR because I also want to understand what my delta is. Let's say, for example, right, if I see a 3-bedroom property, but there's a basement that I can potentially finish and add a bedroom, I still go to the FMR because I still want to see what the incremental lift is from there. That's a great question. But if you do the rent reasonableness test, sometimes there are certain areas where payment standards is typically higher. And they call it payment standards and not FMR because payment standards usually include utilities. Some cities and counties, their payment standards is going to be equal to the FMR, right? So all in all, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to figure out whether or not this is going to be worth my time to dive deeper. And using the FMR sometimes, you might still say, well, what if I'm in a rare exception case that I am in a city or county where the county is actually paying more than the market rents because they might just have that much demand. Again, that's not the rule, that's an exception, but that's something that I keep in mind of. But more importantly, it's just for me to figure out what the delta looks like from a 3-bed to a 4-bed. And in this case, it's $160. But in some other areas, you can see lifts from like $300 to $400 going from a 3-bed to a 4-bed. And that gives me a little bit more market intelligence so that I understand whether or not I should be looking out for more 3-bedroom properties with a opportunity to increase it to a 4-bedroom property. So thank you so much for asking that question, Phoenix. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. All right, so let's go ahead and plug these numbers in. This property is listed for $225,000, 225,000. I'm gonna leave the rehab number at it's just about $3,500, and that's really made up of 2 items. On a rehab calculator spreadsheet, I have about $1,500 in row 6 set aside for just roof repairs, and then I got another $500 set aside for some landscaping. And typically, I've replaced the toilets with high pressure flush toilets, so I'm just replacing 2 of those toilets with high pressure flush ones, so that I get less clogged toilet calls. All right, so that's why I have these numbers in there. I personally have high pressure flush toilets at my home and at my Airbnb rentals, and I've never gotten a clogged toilet call. So this is why I automatically switch them out to high pressure flush toilets, because I would much rather spend a $450 now to replace the high pressure flush toilet than to, one, get stressed out over a clogged toilet, call a plumber out that will probably cost me about $150, $200 just to go out there and declog the call, and then I'm probably going to have another call anyways later. So I might as well do this now and save myself the time and energy. So that's why I always replace the toilets with higher pressure flush toilets. That's just a personal preference, not something that you need to do. All right. So now, again, back to the rent reasonableness test. When I compare the low of the number, I'm going to use $1,338 as my rent. Chances are I'll probably be $1,350. So I'll put $1,350 right here. All right. I'm going to get my rest of my payment numbers from the Redfin page. I'm going to use $85 for my property taxes. So that's going to go in B28. And then the estimated homeowner insurance is $174, right? So I'm going to do equals 174 times 1.2. Now I'm adding a 20% premium by multiplying it by 1.2, because typically you will see that the investment properties are considered to be a little bit more risky. So when they consider to be more risky, they'll charge more premium. Typically, that insurance estimate on a Redfin site or a Zillow site, it probably is assuming that you are buying as a primary residence property. And in this case, we're not. We're buying as an investment property. So I would add another 20% premium. And if you are ever in an area such as Texas or Florida where you know that the insurance premiums are going up every single year, you must also put that in there right now to be conservative. Okay. Next thing I have is I set aside 10% of the rents every single month for maintenance. Meaning this is money that doesn't belong to me. It goes in a bank account. I never touch it. And it's there for a rainy day, because I know for a fact that the roof is going to get replaced in 10, 15, 20, 25 years. The air conditioner is going to replace in 10, even 5 years. I mean, I have some motor. I literally just spent $5,000 on an HVAC repair on our property in Scottsdale because of how hot it was and because of the motor is just dying, right? So you just spent $5,000 and you only put inside $100 every single month for maintenance. Guess what? In 50 months, that entire account is going to be wiped clean. So if you didn't put this money aside right now, you would be overestimating your profitability because you are underestimating your expenses. So don't be that person. Don't go 20 years from now and thinking you made all this money and all of a sudden you have this big repair and all of a sudden it wipes out all the cash flow you had for like the past 5 or 10 years. Don't be that person. Make sure you set aside that money so you are looking at a deal realistically on what's happening. There are people out there that literally teach you how to analyze deals without any maintenance. That's a big red flag. Don't ever listen to people that tells you to underwrite deals with no maintenance. Please don't listen to them. That's a big red flag. All right. Then I got 10% for property management, and then I got 5% for vacancy. All right. So now what do I have? All right. So now I'm going to calculate my down payment. In F19, I'll put 25%. And my down payment amount is going to be in E19. I'm going to equals B4, which is my asking price, multiplied by my down payment percentage in F19, which is 25%. And that gives me $56,000. All right, I got 2.5% for closing costs. I got $3,500 from renovations reserve. And now I have to calculate how much I'm going to finance, right? In case 6, I'm going to do equals B4, which is my asking price, subtracted by my E19, my cash to seller. And that's going to equal to my total finance amount of $168,750. And let's say right now interest rates have gone down a little bit. So I'm going to use 8% for my interest rate for a 30 years DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loan. Now, if that is the case, right, and I bought this property at $225,000, let's kind of go through the scenarios here. I'm renting out for $1,350. I'll be negative cash flow $520. That's a negative 9.5% return on my money. And that's assuming I bought this property at $225,000, $35 rehab, 25% down, and 8% interest rate. Now, we're going to go through the exercise. I'm going to figure out, hey, what price will this actually be a deal? So watch what happens as I lower the asking price, and watch what happens to this cash and cash return number as I lower the asking price, right? So if everything else stayed the same, my renovations stayed the same, my down payment percentage stayed the same, my rent stayed the same, I'm still getting a $1,350 as a 4-bedroom. If I bought this property at $100,000, this would be now 6.5%. If I bought this property at $90,000, this is now a 9.5% return. Now, that's much closer to my target of 10%, but obviously this is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm not telling you that 10% is the number that you should be aiming for. You got to decide what it is worth to you for your time and energy that goes into this deal of managing the contractors, screening the tenants, working with a property manager, inheriting that stress. What percentage is worth it to you in that scenario, right? And if it's not at least 10% for myself personally, then I don't want to go for it. Now, interestingly enough, right? So this seller is probably going to be hard pressed if they're listing it for $225,000 and you give them an offer of $90,000. They might go tell you to screw off, right? So what else can make this a deal? Well, what if all of a sudden the seller owns it free and clear, and I say, hey, Mr. or Miss Seller, why don't you become the bank instead? Why don't you become the bank, right? Because you can still get $225,000. Like, let's say I only hold the property for 7 years, just still guaranteed the $225,000. You still win, Mr. or Miss Seller. But I have to give you principal only payments. Now, even though I just lowered this interest rate, right, from 8%, right, which was negative 9.4, negative 5.4% to 0%, now I'm a positive 4.6% return. That's still not a deal for me, right? So the next lever I'm going to pull is, well, what if I lowered my down payment percentage? What if I only gave a 10% down payment? What if I only gave a 5% down payment? What if I only gave a 2.5% down payment, right? What if I only gave a 1% down payment? Now, these are ridiculous terms, right? But I'm trying to show you the levers that you can pull to make a deal, right? So now I'm at 1% down payment with a 0%, so principal only payments, but I'm still able to give the seller the price that they're looking for. Now, will they go for it? They probably won't go for it. They probably won't go for it unless it stays crickets for another 5 months. But now you know at least what to offer the seller, right? Hey, Miss Seller or Mrs. Seller, I can give you $90,000 for the property because that's what I need. Or if you really want $225,000 and you don't want to bet your life on appreciation because Birmingham isn't typically a high appreciating market, well, here, how about $225,000? But you just got to give me at 1% down and at principal only payments. All in all, this is just an exercise for you to figure out, hey, at what point is this a deal for me? And at what point is it worth my time, right? This is the most important part. What point is it worth my time to investigate further? Is it worth my time sending out some negotiating deeper as a residential company or a different exit, right? You can wrap it, right? You can sell it to a penalty box owner and blah, blah, blah. Or you can do a midterm rental, right? If this market does allow for it, to like a travel or something like that. I'm not familiar with that. That's not my passion, to be quite honest with you. I'm only interested in Section 8 because I want that guaranteed rent every single month. And I want that peace of mind because my full-time focus is on developing multifamily. So for single families, I don't want to do any more Airbnbs. I have a few of them. I know how much time it takes. So completely up to you, right? Some people will just rather break even in an area where they know it's high appreciation. Some people in California would just say, hey, if I can just break even on cash flow, I know it's going to go up like 5% every single year. Very speculative. That's very risky, but that's other people's strategy. Because they might say, well, if I make 5% on $1 million, like 50 grand, that's way better than trying to make $100 of cash flow, right? It's all up to you. It's all your portfolio. It's all your diversification strategy. That's why you got to talk to your own investment professional that knows your risk tolerance the best and your personal goals the best. All I'm saying is, hey, at this point, this is what it will require for me to send someone out there to get photos for me, or to send a contractor out there for me to give me a bid. Because guess what? Good contractors are busy. If you keep sending them out to projects that you have no interest or possibility of even buying or taking down, guess what? At some point, they're going to stop taking your calls. So be careful of where and how you spend your goodwill with top talent. All right. So that's it. That's my goal for you today. My goal is that you copy my homework today, right? Find one part I said in this video, explain it better. You guys want to copy the spreadsheet, you can go to affordablehousing.io. Click on the Get Deal Analysis tool. Put in your name, email, your phone number. I promise I won't spam you. That's how you get to copy the spreadsheet the fastest. I'm not selling you anything. This is just the fastest way for you to get this copy of the spreadsheet without me being in a bottleneck of having you DMing your email. And honestly, this is the best way. And I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I tweaked it, I modified it, and I combined a few of them so that it helps me analyze deals quickest and the fastest. So please, please, please analyze the deal your own way and put in the reps. Put it on your own YouTube channel, because when the time comes for you to pull a trigger, I hope that you will feel confident that you know what you're doing. And the only way you feel confident is if you look back at your own track record, the evidence that you put forth in your own YouTube channel, that you know what you're doing. All right. Hope you all have an amazing Tuesday. You guys have some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. And Andy, yes, all my videos are on YouTube, youtube.com/@Kent_HE. It's giving you right here on this website, youtube.com/@Kent_HE. You can look at the live and you'll see that I've gone live for pretty much the past 311 days, just analyzing on-market deals, single-family deals specifically. And hopefully that helps you. Thank you a lot, Andy. I appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully I can watch you do your lives too at some point. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll be back here again tomorrow for day 312.